Hi, my name is Marie Lou. I'm an oil painter here in the Poconos of Pennsylvania. I currently have a solo exhibit here at the Brodhead Creek Heritage Center. So I'd like to show you around the gallery, my paintings, and some of what's here. This image was the way that the rock formations frame this beautiful waterfall in the background, almost like a theater set. This painting here is called The Nurturing Tree, and it's on a textured panel. And I painted little canvases and attached them to the panel to represent just a few of the many animals that rely on trees for their life. This painting is titled Wisdom of the Ages. In the center, I have the burning bush tree, which blooms pink in the fall. Here in the Poconos, we see a lot of them are not red, as we're accustomed to, but this beautiful shade of pink. I included a lot of the petroglyph images that were found in this area along the Delaware that were made by the Lenape Indians. This one, it was not on a petroglyph, but I included it because it has to do with the myth of the Turtle Island, which is how the Lenape believed that man was created. This painting is called The Great Council Tree, and this is its first time having a public appearance. The tree in the center is roughly at least 450 years old. And the history of the painting was that it was here when William Penn owned the land. And it was also the most northerly New Jersey boundary marker in the 1600s when New Jersey was divided in half. And so that's why I have the east and the west map on either side of the tree. From Egg Harbor up to Walpack, New Jersey was the dividing line. I wanted to show that not only the tree itself, which is very magnificent, but I wanted to portray the history, so I included a rendition or a replication of an Edward Hicks painting, which portrays William Penn signing the treaty with the Lenape, and in the background is the Delaware Water Gap and the Delaware River. William Penn was a good Quaker, and he always respected and intended to live side by side with the Lenape. He honored their treaty. And the ideals that he brought to this country as a Quaker and founder of the city of Philadelphia, religious and civil liberty, became very influential for the U.S. Constitution and the founders of that Constitution of the United States. This tree was so large that it could not be captured in a photograph, so it had to be painted. Now, underneath here, to give it scale, but also because this was inspired by the Edward Hicks painting, where he has beasts and babies assembled together, which was inspired by a Bible passage in one of the chapter of Isaiah, where they say that a small child led the beasts and babies. They live in harmony together underneath the shading and warm embrace of the Great Council Tree. This painting was painted for my friend Danny Tassi, who is including the image in his application to designate this tree as a New Jersey heritage tree. On this wall here, I've got several images of the artwork of Marie Zimmerman. She lived in what is now the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, and she was a very well-known and well-respected female metalsmith. So I replicated her work and put them into different natural settings. This one here is a vessel that she made, and I placed it in a moat at Gray Towers. You can see Gray Towers a little bit reflected in the water. Marie Zimmerman would have been a contemporary of Gifford Pinchot. This is Marie Zimmerman's house, which still exists in the park, and it's been renovated. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And this is a dagger that she made, and I imagined it to be in the snow on a rocky ledge. This is one of my images of Gifford Pinchot. I imagined him as a tree man, so his face was captured in the bark. He was the first chief forester of the United States Forest Service, and he lived in Milford, Pennsylvania. I enjoy finding out about him. He was a fascinating and honorable man. This is a small print of the Great Council Tree. This painting tells the story of a farmer saying goodbye to his tree, and it has to do with the Tox Island Dam project, in which on either side of the Delaware River in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, the residents were evacuated to make way for a dam and large lake, which was the result of the 1955 flood, which did so much damage that the Army Corps of Engineers had a plan to dam up the Delaware and never have that kind of tragedy again. The project never went through, but the poor people were forced out before the project was canceled. This painting was inspired by a poem by a friend of mine named Carrie Nicole McCaffrey, and I'm going to read her poem. In this valley, with its smattering of blossoms, mountain laurel, apple, pear, we walk in the golden grass to the stately oak, which was part of both then and now, and sitting in its generous arms, wonder, what happened to the farm? Where's the teacher? Where's the mailman? Where has everyone gone? To which there are various answers, a scattering of clues, abandoned homes, pink wallpaper peeling, a glass bottle of laundry bluing. But from behind the veil of closed eyes, all the information we need, on that last day, a farmer got off his plow and shed a tear at this tree. The schoolmaster knew it was perhaps the last bell and rang it pensively as the mailman shut the boxes slowly. All saw the farmer standing by the oak, one hand on its bark, as if leaning on a friend, a sight somehow holy. Not only was the farmer leaving the tree, which was sad enough, it was in the middle of his farm field, so he was leaving, but he was also lamenting that this tree would soon be submerged underneath the Great Lake. Today, you go to that field and the tree is thriving in the middle of this abandoned field, the farmer long gone decades ago. This painting is an image of the property of one of the original settlers to this area, the Rosencrantz family. And this was the site of a ferry which crossed the Delaware. The property bordered the Delaware River. And as you can see, there's an old cemetery on the right-hand side, and the Pocono Mountains in the background. This is in the spring, which has the most beautiful coloration in this area, especially in Walpack. The little blue-green trees are called the Roman olive, and they grow like crazy all over Walpack. I just think they're beautiful. Here's my Gifford Pinchot wall. Like I said, I like to do paintings of Gifford Pinchot. This is my reimagining of the Pocono Plateau up by Milford. You can see the rock face exposed. And I thought, wouldn't that be fun if we had our own Pocono Rushmore of conservation carved into it. So on the left, you have Rachel Carson. Next to her is Gifford Pinchot. Then you have Teddy Roosevelt, and finally, John Muir. Great persons in the conservation movement. This is an image of Gifford Pinchot at the Grand Canyon with John Muir. Pinchot and Muir were friends. Eventually they parted ways because they had different ideas about conservation. Both great men. This painting is called Midnight Forests, and it has to do with Roosevelt and Pinchot staying up for days on end, proclaiming national forests out west before the politicians in 6 of those states would prohibit them from declaring national forests in their states. You're looking through a keyhole at what they're doing in the middle of the night. This here is a painting of Indian Ladder's waterfall, and in the inset up above, there's Chief Thundercloud, who used to live in this area, and he's canoeing on the Delaware. It's just one of the many beautiful waterfalls here in this area, in Pike County, Monroe County. Here are 2 paintings of several waterfalls at Childs Park. This one here is called Factory Falls because it was right next to a wool mill. A lot of industry was located along waterfalls and creeks because they used the water power. This is called Deer Leap Falls. Has to do with some myth of a deer leaping off. This is a beautiful waterfall in Walpack, New Jersey, and the rocks are covered with green moss. It's quite a beautiful sight. And there's the bridge above it and a road. And finally, another waterfall painting. This one I call the Savantine Falls. It's just outside of Milford. Here's a beautiful deck that we're going to be hanging out on at the reception. And it sits on a nature preserve. And we'll take maybe I'll take a few pictures out in the nature preserve to show you what that's like.